Half steps, whole steps, octaves. What does all that mean? Let me start on a G, and then go to the first note directly on the right side of the G sharp, or the A flat. We call the interval from G to G sharp, or A flat, a semitone, or a half tone, or also a half step. So, a semitone, or a half tone, or a half step is the interval of a note to the note directly at the right or the left side of it. Some more examples. From D sharp, or E flat, to E is a semitone. From B to C is a semitone. You can see that it's possible to have an interval of one semitone between two white notes, as is the case between the B and the C, or also between E and F. This is the case when there's no black note between the two white notes. You can also see that it's not possible to have an interval of a semitone between two black notes, because two consecutive black notes are always separated by a white note. Now, let's go on where we left, on the G sharp, or the A flat. Going up a half step takes us to A. Going up another half step takes us to A sharp, or B flat. Another half step up to B. One more half step to C, etc. When moving up every time in half steps, we also say that we're moving up chromatically. We also call it the chromatic scale. And of course, when you can move up chromatically, you can of course also move down chromatically. So again, by moving a half step up or down, we move from a note to the note that is directly next to it on the keyboard. Up or down, so on the keyboard directly on the right side or the left side of the initial key. Instead of moving half steps, we can also move in whole steps. Now, a whole step consists of two half steps. Let's make this visual on the keyboard. Let's again start with a G. A whole step up is the same as going up two half steps, or two semitones. So let's move two half steps up from G. The first step takes us to G sharp, or A flat, and the next step to A. So the interval from G to A is two semitones, which is a whole tone, or also a whole step. In the same way, when moving a whole step up from A, we arrive at B. One more whole step takes us to C sharp, or D flat, and then a whole step up takes us to D sharp, or E flat. One more whole step, we're on F. Okay, let's do one more whole step then. And yes, we're on G. And of course, I'm now moving up the whole time, but I could have also moved down instead. Okay, so I think you get the point of what semitones and whole tones are. So, let's now look at another interval. I will first play a G, and then another G, this time higher on the keyboard. You can hear that both notes sound very similar, which is not amazing since both notes are a G. But they are not exactly the same note. The second G is higher than the first one. It has a higher pitch. Now we call this interval from G to the next G an octave. An octave is the interval between a note and the next occurrence of the same note on the keyboard. Another example. This time I start on a C sharp. The next C sharp is an octave away. Going one more time to the next C sharp is again an octave higher. Now those two C sharps are 2 octaves away from each other. Now, when we start again on the C sharp and go up chromatically to the next C sharp, 1 octave higher, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 semitones. So, an octave consists of 12 semitones or 6 whole tones, because there are 2 semitones in a whole tone. Later you will see other intervals than only half steps, whole steps and octaves.